Well, let's take a moment to look at the problem and make sure we understand a little bit about what we're going to be working on here. So I've got some sort of Gizmo class, which is describing some gadgets here. I enjoy being able to mark up the problem as I'm looking at it, so I'm going to do that here. Some Gizmo objects are electronic and others are not, so that's something to keep in mind. A partial definition is shown below. Usually when they say there's a partial definition, that's because they want you to either not solve certain parts of the problem, or maybe you're not going to solve any parts of that problem, and they're just kind of setting up that class for you. So public class Gizmo here, apparently there is a getMaker method which returns the manufacturer. Implementation not shown, and I'm not going to have to do that. Usually when they say implementation not shown, I'm not going to have to worry about that. But I am probably going to need to use that method somewhere in my solution. Let's see what else we have going on here. A little farther down, is electronic is a Boolean method. Implementation not shown, and I can find out if a gizmo, any particular gizmo, is electronic or not just by calling the is electronic, and that'll return a value true or false. Very nice. And then finally, a little bit farther down here, there's a equals method. The equals method is interesting here. One of the things I noticed right away is there's an object parameter here. This is going to return true if the gizmo is equivalent to the gizmo object represented by the parameter and false otherwise. So this gizmo can be compared with another gizmo using this equals method. And I'm going to have to be a little bit careful with that object thing. I'm taking note of that because ordinarily I might expect if I was going to compare two things, I would expect to see that they would have the same method, or sorry, the same class. And in this case, this class is referring to a gizmo, and for whatever reason, object is the class of this other thing here. So we'll have to talk about that a little bit. Great. What else do we have in this method that I need to pay close attention to, or in this problem rather? The Online Purchase Manager class, wow, it's a big name. Online Purchase Manager class manages a sequence of gizmo objects that an individual has purchased from an online vendor. You will write two methods. Got it. Okay, so we're going to do two methods. A partial definition is shown below here. So let's see. Online Purchase Manager has an array list. Oh, that's good. I like array lists. Private array list of gizmo objects. Good. And those are all going to be stored in a array list called purchases. There is a count electronics by maker method that I need to implement in part A. They're probably going to give me the maker, and then I'm going to have to go through all the purchases and figure out how many of any given maker there were. That's what I'm getting from context here. Yeah, oh, returns the number. Yeah, very obvious. And farther down below here, has adjacent equal pair. That's something, well, that's a little bit confusing. What does that mean? Returns true if any pair of adjacent purchased objects are equivalent, if they're equal to each other, and false otherwise as described. Adjacent purchased gizmo objects are equivalent. Interesting. I'm going to have to think about that a little bit, and I'm going to have to implement that in part B. And I imagine they're going to give me a little bit more information about that down below. This is not the complete class, of course. There are other instance variables and constructors and methods maybe, but I don't have to worry about those. Those aren't relevant to what I'm going to be solving here. Well, great. Well, that's a great preliminary start to things. I think at this point, I'm ready to start taking a look at problem A here. And if you haven't tried that out yet, why don't you try taking a look at problem A? Read the description here and make notes on this. Remember, you are going to have lots of time for making notes. That's something that they encourage you to do. And once you've got those notes ready and you're ready to start trying to solve it, you can go ahead and come down here and fill these in as best you can. When you're ready to look at my solution and how I developed it, you can move on to the next video. But give it a try yourself first.